Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to come on here for this week. I just took a shower to get the stink off of me from this week's events and what's coming up in life, as far as politics, global stage, all that other stuff. The big news, of course, is Trump issuing the orders to bomb Iran without Congress's approval. I know a lot of people say that that goes against the Constitution. He cannot declare war on a foreign land, that is Congress's purview. Unfortunately, I have to argue against that because you can look at the Korean War that was considered a police action, and a lot of presidents before have done things like bombing other countries and stuff. Obama, Bush, Clinton. I mean, it just go down the line. The truth is, though, is that I don't think he's doing it for the right reasons. First, Iran has been accused of enriching uranium for the past 30 years, weapons grade uranium. Just make that clear. By Netanyahu and mainly Netanyahu for the past 30, 40 years. There's many clips and reels of him talking in front of the US, the UN, G20, all of these other things that says they're within a month of having weapons grade enriched uranium. Side note, that's a difficult line to say. So I don't believe that they actually had it. That's number one. Number two, I think he's trying to wipe off the stink of taco. Trump always chickens out. And he wants to look like a tough guy. He wants to look like he is in charge and he's the person on the global stage that they all have to come and kiss the ring of. It is negligible on whether or not it actually did anything. Now, this is nothing against the military, the Air Force, the pilots, our equipment, or anything else like that. The generals and the operators of this got their orders, took care of their orders, perfected it, and did what they were supposed to do. Congratulations toward them, props to them. But they should never have been there in the first place. Then Trump comes in and goes, you have 24 hours and we're going to have this ceasefire and we're going to have this 12-day war, after saying it wasn't a war, finished between you two. And then Iran goes and bombs, Israel goes and bombs Iran a little bit more just as a final fuck you. This whole thing, I'm kind of in a wait and see. I was very trepidatious when I first heard it. Him coming out and blustering, I think, was the thing that sickened me the most about this. We used technology that we have never used before. The bunker buster bombs, or the MOPs, have never been used before, so might as well experiment with it. So I'm going to give it a little bit of time to see exactly what I want to have a final say on. I think that Iran with weapons grade uranium is not a good idea. I think anybody with it. I think anybody with nuclear weapons is truly just on that cusp of doing something completely stupid. And with somebody like Trump in the office and his ability to be able to call a nuclear strike if he wants to, it is very disheartening and very concerning, in my opinion. Speaking of bad decisions, the Trump administration is going to put Kilmar Abrego on trial for migrant smuggling. Kilmar Abrego was the one that was married to a U.S. citizen, has a kid here, and he was one of the ones rounded up and said that he was part of MS-13. He was sent to El Salvador. He's kind of the poster boy against all of the deportations and how wrong it can go. And he's the one that they, across his fist, they put they photoshopped MS-13 on it, and Trump believed that that was real. So they're wanting to say that he drove hundreds of miles every single day with his kid with him just to smuggle people back and forth throughout the United States. There is absolutely no evidence of this happening. The people that say that he is part of MS-13 and he did all this smuggling are people that have been given reduced sentences or deals to say this. So they have been given this incentive to lie. Experts have come out and said it's a virtual impossibility for him to be doing this altogether. But they're already planning on deporting him. So that's very, very, very concerning once again. There was the airplane crash in India into the medical school area. That was, I mean, just the thought of that is just horrific. Over 300 dead. My heart goes out to everybody that did that. Anne Burrell, the chef from the cooking channel, she passed away. She was always fun to watch, and it's a shame that we've lost her there. The interesting thing that I found is that a lot of people are no longer talking about Doge. A lot of people are not talking about what was happening the week before last or the week before that, or the big beautiful bill that barely passed the House and may end up not passing the Senate, even though Trump is threatening to primary out anyone that goes against him, which I think is a real conflict of interest with it. I think that he needs to not have that influence on Congress at all, that they should be able to vote anonymously on this until it's all said and done, because they're afraid of him. And I think a lot more people would step out and say, no. So keep that in mind. Now, the last piece of news that I'm going to get into here is the Supreme Court. Tomorrow, Friday, they are looking at doing 6 decisions right now on 6 different cases. Some of them really important that can change a lot of stuff, and some of them still important but not countrywide affecting necessarily. The first one is birthright citizenship. The factor that people that were born here, even if their parents were not, are considered citizens. Now, if they vote against it, this is a demonstration of how fucked we are. Seriously. Because in the Constitution itself, in the Declaration of Independence, and in the Constitution, it talks about due process. It talks about that if you were born in America, you are a citizen, no matter what happened before. If they rule against birthright citizenship and people having that ability to be a citizen, then it is concerning for everybody that was born here but don't have parents that were born here. There's going to be rounding up of people and saying, well, it doesn't matter. You're brown, get out. Because that's what it amounts to. I mean, if you look at the South African debacle of bringing over him making the exception of bringing over all the South African white farmers that were being targeted and then deporting everybody that doesn't look like, well, me, to put it bluntly, then this country's going to go downhill really fast. Mind you, he's reversed his catch every, his Pokemon got to catch 'em all attitude and leave the farm workers and the leisure industry alone. Don't go after those people. But everybody else is fair game. Even though his big thing was we're trying to go after the criminals, which the amount of stupidity in that is completely unbelievable. The next one is a case to where conservative parents want to be able to opt out of that their elementary school kids can opt out of reading any LGBTQ plus material in schools. In other words, if there's a lesson that has a mommy and a mommy, that, or a dad and a dad, or what have you, or talk about pronouns, then their kids can opt out of it. Here's the thing, you don't have to have a court case for that, in all honesty. This is an overreach by the evangelicals to try to normalize hatred and putting people in the LGBTQ plus community in this box and point at them and say, children, don't ever become like this. You can't do this. These people are not Americans or not normal, which sets up a lot of bad precedents there. Just let teachers do what they need to do. I mean, this is going to go into a lot of the myths and parent aspects that I'm talking about tonight. They're going to talk about they've got to make a decision on the Louisiana congressional districts and how they're drawn and whether or not they're even legal. This goes to the heart of gerrymandering. In other words, making really weird shaped districts that favor one party over another. My take on this is that the country needs to be put on a grid, period. And that grid determines your district. That's it. As a district, I shouldn't be lumped in with people in with Houston, but that we have Dan Crenshaw as our representative in the House. He doesn't give a shit about people in Conroe. And the fact that he is our representative in the House is annoying because I want to have a representative that is from this area that knows these people. Even if it's done by a county, that is fine. But there needs to be something done with this. The next one, actually dealing with Texas, is the age restriction that Texas has put up for adult sites. From my understanding, this is where you have to give an age verification to be able to go to any adult site. Now, here's the thing. There are parental blocks for things like this. There are parental blocks for sites that do not have kid-friendly material. Let parents do their job, okay? And the fact is that we need to make a decision within our country about sex as a general rule. Is sex and sexuality okay, or is it not? Because you've got the same people that decry everything about sex and sexuality on one hand, and then on the other hand, they're the ones caught doing some of the most sexually depraved crap around. You have these Republican and far-right senators and stuff going, we hate the gays, gay people shouldn't be doing this, gay people shouldn't be doing this, and then they get caught soliciting people of the same sex. I mean, it's there should be no same shame as far as sexuality goes within our country, within our society. Now, there are limits, of course, but I don't think that there needs to be as big of a taboo on it as there is. There's also a challenge for the Affordable Care Act Preventative Care Task Force. From my understanding on this, it's talking about that the Affordable Care Act should not, that the task force should not be able to say what's considered preventative care, that anything could be considered preventative care and be covered by it. Here's the thing, I'm trying to lose weight again. And if I need a pill or a supplement or something else like that to help me reach that goal to be healthier, I should be able to have that. I should have my insurance. If I'm paying for insurance, I should be able to have that. So that's my take on it. And this one is really good for the rural areas. They're deciding whether or not the FCC, and this is with the Federal Communication Commission program that subsidizes phone and internet services in underserved areas, mainly rural areas, bringing high-speed internet to places that doesn't have it instead of really spotty places to where people can get full information and not rely on outdated modes of communication. I don't see a big deal with that, but that's just me. But those are the big things that they're going to be deciding tomorrow, June 27th. They're not going to meet again until October unless there's an emergency session that they have to come in for, which is perfectly understandable. With Trump being president, there's a really good chance that that is, that's going to happen. No, I'm not bored of my own content. It's summertime, so I stay up really late and get to bed really early in the morning, and then wake up way too early and then decide, hey, I'm going to stay up again. So that's why I'm yawning. Before I move on to my next little round of teacher myths and things like that, one of the things that I keep forgetting to say for all of you folks, make sure that you're subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification button and also hitting the like button, okay? It allows me to know if you like my content, if you think I need to go a different direction. Always leave comments. If you don't agree with me, go for it. I'm going to read through the comments that are put there, okay? I'm going to read through anything that's sent to me. And as far as notifications, emails, whatever, let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see happen with this. If you just want to say something snarky, go for it. Be funny. I need the laugh, okay? Moving on to the series of teacher myths. Here is myth number 4, I believe, because I really went off on number 3 with the teacher abuse on it. Number 4 is health, teacher health. Now this is physical, mental, and emotional health, okay? We as teachers, physically, after about, first year teachers get sick all the time. And I'm not joking. When they take those days off, it is because they are truly, truly sick. Veteran teachers do not take a lot of days off. The reason for illness. The reason being is that we become immune to so much stuff. We have lived through the petri dish of elementary school kids and COVID and flu season and pneumonia and stomach bugs and all of this other stuff that we usually don't get sick, and if we do, we shrug it off. Most teachers have especially veteran teachers that have been teaching more than 5 years, have a hellacious immune system. They really do. And if they do get sick, where it will lay up somebody for 4 or 5 days, it may just be a day or two for us as far as teachers go. And the reason for that is that we get exposed to so much, especially on the elementary school level. Think about all the kids' snot and I'm going to say it, spit and everything, hi teacher crap. It is amazing that, the bubonic plague has not come back because of small children and putting them in 30 of them, 20 to 30 of them in a room. And that's part of the biggest problem right there, is that new teachers aren't prepared for this. They don't have the immunity for it. Now, here is the drawback to having that constitution, for having that health and that strong health. Okay? Once you hit a break that is longer than 3-4 days, your body shuts down. I'm not joking. Every single Thanksgiving break, winter break, spring break, and summer, as soon as my wife and I came home and stopped teaching, both of us would get sick. And our bodies would go, yep, we're done. That's it, we give up. You survived the year, you survived this stretch of time without dying. Now you get to fall apart. And we'd have to take turns being sick. We hold ourselves to a higher standard of being at work. You have people that in regular corporate jobs go, I don't feel good. I think I better call in today. Then you've got teachers who, may be missing a limb and have an open chest wound that might just say, staple that shut, tourniquet it off, I'm going in. The kids need me. And I know it's a martyr syndrome, I get that we do need to take care of ourselves, but we get so few days allocated to be able to take off for sickness. And most of the times when we do take off days, it's to take care of loved ones. It's to take other people to the hospital. It's to take care of other sick individuals, children, parents, siblings, whatever, that we end up taking off. The other reason why teachers do not take off on a regular basis is kind of twofold. Lesson plans and sub plans. If a teacher is sick, they're supposed to have sub plans ready to go for whoever walks into the room. The problem is that you can have the most detailed substitute plans set out for the sub to do. Invariably, they will never do it. Invariably, also, the kids will never do the work because they have no respect for the sub. And they just see it as a day to fart around and to just kind of sit there and goof off. I'm not being rude, I'm being honest. So it takes more work for us to get our sub plans and our sub notes and to get everything set up for these days that we're sick than it does just to show up. There's been days to where I was truly sick at school. I would physically, go back to the class and go, okay, let's keep going. There were days where I was sick where I'm like, I better put on a mask so I'm not I don't spread anything to kids because I don't know what's wrong with me. I've done school with 101 degree temperatures, 102 degree temperatures, and just powered through it. Why? Because I'm a martyr. No. It is, somebody wrote this that I read, is that it's a point of great pride and great shame. And that really encapsulates how most teachers feel. We take pride in the factor that we are in our classrooms teaching our kids and taking care of these tiny human lives. It's a great shame that we don't take care of ourselves. Now, one of the other things that you're looking at is teachers' mental health. Um, there's a lot of studies out there that say that people make usually, 3,500 decisions every day. Now, that can be, what am I going to wear? How much coffee am I going to drink? How much little bitty things, non-consequential. Work related, the average that most people make as far as decisions go, like real decisions and real questions that they have to answer, is usually about 500. Teachers, surgeons, police, and EMTs all have the highest amount of decision making in high stress environments. And I want you to think about this. We have to make a decision that encapsulates 30 people in our room. We have to sit there and decide, should I call out that kid for doing that, but not that one? Should I call out everybody for doing it? Oh, should I walk this direction or this direction to catch this one cheating or to get that one's phone? And I mean, those are just minor things. We have to answer constant questions. Elementary school teachers have it even worse. But we have been clocked in, and there's been studies done, and some people say it's been debunked, but it's a lot of actual science that's gone into this. Teachers make about 1,500 decisions a day just at work. This creates what's called decision fatigue. That's why when most teachers get home, they don't want to decide anything. They've been answering questions and making decisions that affect large groups of people constantly. And that is difficult. It is emotionally and mentally draining to have to deal with that. I know for a fact when both my wife and I get home, neither of us want to make decisions about anything. What do you want to do for dinner? I don't care. Have food there. I mean, neither of us really wanted to cook. Neither of us have really wanted to make decisions like we needed to because we both had that decision fatigue, which is a real thing that happens, especially under stressful situations. And yes, classrooms are stressful. So that's something to keep in mind there. This is one of the reasons why teachers take what's called mental health days. When we are at our breaking point emotionally and mentally, we go, just need a day. That's it. Now, everybody thinks that that day is just us laying on the couch staring at the ceiling. Believe it or not, as teachers, we still do things during that day off. We get to just make decisions at a slower pace. We are just alone. And that makes us feel good. We can have music that we listen to while we make decisions and do other things. We go and do errands that we don't have the time for normally. A mental health day is not always laying in bed comatose. It really isn't. And that's one of the myths that people have about teachers, is that we're either sick all the time or we're just trying to avoid teaching and we're not good teachers. That's not the truth. It is decision fatigue. And our health, most people think that teachers have it easy that they only work, 6 hours, 7 hours, and it's all easy and fun, and we're all playing games. And they don't realize, I mean, look at the last video and the video before that about how many hours teachers normally put in. Um, our mental health is drained just as much as our physical health, but we push forward. Now, our emotional health comes in the factor of giving a crap about these kids. You have people out there that say that teachers don't give a shit about the kids. They're only in it for the paycheck. That's my favorite one there. It's another myth. Um, and I want to talk about that myth that we're only in it for the money. That'll be next time that I'll talk about that. But there's an emotional drain on our health as well. When we see kids come in that have been abused, that have been neglected, when we see kids that are obviously struggling, when we have kids that come up and tell us the most horrific things that have been happening to them in their life, that we see the underside of families, just like social workers do. We see that. We see what happens and what has happened to these kids. And that can take an emotional toll on our health because we empathize with these kids. And you can be the toughest, meanest SOB around and say, I don't care about these kids to everybody that you want to. But the truth is, we do. And it takes a toll and it drags us down. So when you have that physical, emotional, and mental drain day in, day out, it takes a toll on the health. And most people think, oh, teachers just sit at their desk and don't do anything. Most teachers are up and moving. Most teachers are going desk to desk. Most teachers, the only time they sit down is maybe during their conference period when they're doing lesson plans. It's definitely not during lunch. So, and I'll go through a normal teacher day here later on. But the myth that teachers are somehow health-wise fragile is a complete myth. We're a lot tougher than people think. It's just that when we finally crash, nobody sees it. We don't allow anybody to see it. Period. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this week. I may end up doing more as I go along, but once a week right now is kind of turning out to be okay with me. I'll be posting this tonight, Thursday night, and it should be up Friday morning. As always, hit the subscribe button, please. Hit like, share it with other people, okay? And I hope that you folks have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Hopefully the world will not burn down. Peace out, folks.